Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're listening to Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
So, on today's episode of Eating W, we have our NFL Week 10 preview. But first of all, we'll jump into the scores on our head-to-head pick'em game. So I had a little bit of a rough week, only getting 5 points, and Callan had a great week, hitting his lock and his upset, so getting 10 points total. So that puts me at the score of 82, and Callan with 73.
And
so
he's just past the halfway point of the season.
Just past.
So we're still in reaching distance.
You're catching up with me. Only 9 points. It was like almost 20 points at one point,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. So you're really starting to close the gap. But there's our quick update, and now we'll jump into the slate of games. So first of all, we have the Saints heading to Tennessee to take on the Titans. I have the Saints in this one, and Callan has the Titans. I picked the Saints mostly just because I think that Atlanta just played really well that game. I don't think I don't think that the Saints even necessarily played bad, even with their backup quarterback in Trevor Siemian. But I think that Atlanta just really stepped up and played well. And I know they looked really good against the Rams. Like, I'm not going to take that away from them in any means. But I think the Titans looked a lot better against the Rams than they're actually going to be without Derrick Henry. I just can't trust that offense, even with Adrian Peterson. So that's why I took these Saints.
Yeah, and I took the Titans because I think without Jameis Winston, I don't think the Saints are very good. I mean, they played. He played pretty good against Atlanta, but they still lost. And, I think that they can just defenses can focus and center more on Kamara and not have to worry so much about the quarterback beating you or let the quarterback beat you. They say, like, well, if they're going to beat us, they're going to beat us throwing the ball because it's their weak point. So, let the backup quarterback try to beat you, I guess. And, Falcons were able to pull it out, and the way the Titans played against the Rams, I think that they should be able to beat the Saints if they beat the Rams like that. So,
yeah, I agree. It's gonna be a good matchup. Look for a very low scoring games. Mm-hmm. Two big powerhouse defenses. Next up, we have an NFC. Wow, I cannot get NFC and AFC together. I don't know what my problem is. We have an AFC East divisional matchup with the Bills heading to New York to take on the Jets. And Cal and I both have the Bills, and I have the Bills as my lock again. Took them as my lock last week. Didn't quite work out too hot. But I think that was just a total fluke game by the Jags defense stepping up the way it did. I don't think the Jets have the players for their defense to step up like that, and I don't think they have the players on offense, even with the weirdly good rotation of quarterbacks they've had going the past few weeks, to put up enough points to go head-to-head with the Bills. So I think the Bills pull out this win.
As a divisional game, this cannot be a trap game because you just don't look at your divisional opponents as a trap game, no matter what their record is. So yes, I see Buffalo getting back to form, and I don't know what if they'll blow them out, but I definitely think it'll be a better performance than they had last week, which will be pretty easy to do. But
they have
to perform better. I mean,
it will be easy to perform
right,
better,
but you have to do it still.
If they score a touchdown, they will already have performed better than they did last week. So I think the big thing in that game, no Josh Allen on the other side of the ball.
Yes, that seemed to really affect Josh Allen, to have Josh Allen over there.
Quarterback Josh Allen got totally thrown off by defensive end Josh Allen, and it just threw off the whole playbook, you could tell.
Yeah, somewhere the universe and the equilibrium, things got messed up, and the time and, all reality, and somehow the Jags beat the Bills, and that was the result of that.
With the Jags beating the Bills, something got very messed up. But next up, speaking of the Jags, we got the Jags heading to Indianapolis to take on the Colts in an AFC South matchup. And Cal and I both have the Colts in this one. Again, now I'm just going to keep repeating myself between these two games, but I think that was a total fluke by the Jags beating the Bills last week. And I think the Colts pretty well took care of the Jets. I just realized that those were switched last week. That's kind of weird to see because I have it set out on my phone right now. So that really threw me off. I don't know why that got me so much. But I think the Jags beating the Bills was a total fluke. I think the Colts played well against the Jets, and the fact that the game was close at all was kind of not very well representing what that game was and how well the Colts played. So I thought about even putting the Colts as my lock in this one, but I think the Colts pretty well dominate.
Yeah, I think so too. Jonathan Taylor just broke out. I mean, he was already good, but to have career highs like that and really show that you can be a superstar running back, take over a game, I think that's really good for him and the Colts. So I think the key is if the Jaguars are able to shut down Jonathan Taylor and, like I was just saying, try to make Carson Wentz beat you, I mean, I think that might be your best chance now, the way Jonathan Taylor's coming into his own. You know, Wentz can mess up a game just as much as he can win a game. So maybe that might be your best chance against the Colts now with Jonathan Taylor on this tear.
The only thing that I have to add to that is, like you said, with Jonathan Taylor being a 2020 guy breaking out finally, another 2020 guy really breaking out this year is Michael Pittman. So if they do find a way to stop Taylor, look for Pittman to have a huge game. Next up, we have a last year's playoff rematch, so that's kind of cool. We got the Bucs heading to Washington to take on the Washington football team. That was, of course, the game that Taylor Heineke almost beat Tom Brady last year when he completely played his heart out and just barely fell short. But Cal and I both have the football team in this one, ironically, and Callan has him marked as his upset.
Yes. Heineke is going to finish the job. He's got unfinished business.
One literally exact reason.
Exact
reason what I was about to say.
Is some of the best motivation. He was this close to beating the man, to taking down the guy. I mean, the measuring stick of the NFL for quarterbacks. And I mean, he almost should have done it. I mean, they just got away with it.
And the best part is, last year in the playoff game, Washington had the 4, Tampa had the 5, so it's even in Washington again, just like it was last year. So it's just setting up too weird, too perfectly. Heineke wants that game back. He did all he could to win and just barely fell short.
And both teams are coming off a bye, so they've had ample time to really rest up, and so it should be a really good game, honestly. No matter who wins, I think that it's going to be two very well prepared teams, and like I said, I really hope Heineke can just get that motivation of the unfinished business.
Excited to watch this game. But next up, we have the Falcons heading to the Cowboys, and we both have the Cowboys in this one, and Callan has the Cowboys as his lock. But the funny thing I wanted to talk about, again, I don't know what it is with games being just like each other and being the same, but this is another really fun matchup from last year, because this was the game that the Falcons did the stupid onside kick thing.
Yeah,
when Greg Zerloin gave them the little hand it to them, roll to them, and they let it come all the way to them, and then the Cowboys got it. Just complete Falcons choke. I want to say they were up by like 2 or 3 touchdowns.
They were.
With minimal time left.
How about that game?
So it's another matchup that's going to be really fun to watch, but I have kind of an opposite view on this one. Like I said, with Washington wanting to get revenge, and that's why they'll win. I don't think Falcons are going to get the revenge and win like Washington will.
No,
I don't really have a huge reason for that, mostly just because the Cowboys came off of a rough week last week, and I think they're going to be hell-bent on proving that's not the team they are. And I think the Falcons are just going to have to sadly get the wrath of that.
And that too. And also, the Falcons really get up only for divisional games.
That's true.
Their wins have been against divisional opponents. Their good games have been against divisional opponents. Their bad games and their blowouts have been against non-divisional opponents. This is a non-divisional opponent, so I see the Cowboys just blowing them out because not
even a conference opponent.
Yeah, no, Falcons. They're the NFC.
Oh, oops.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry.
Division. NFC South. And
that's
East.
That's my fault.
And yes, with the Cowboys just shit in the bed last week against Denver and Dallas. Even it's not even like they gotta come out and be better, and that goes back to coaching. Again, this is what I'm saying. McCarthy's not that good of a coach. Talent has won a lot of those games. Talent won the game against the Vikings even. I mean, even without Dak. Coaching lost the game last week against
the
Denver.
Broncos, yeah.
Because talent can win you games, but they can't win you every game. Sometimes the coaching's got to win you a game. and the coaching could not win them this game.
Nope. Key to victory for the Cowboys: start Cooper Rush. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, apparently, they're better without
no, that's
that.
only against the
No.
Vikings. The Vikings are cursed against backup quarterbacks, especially for the Cowboys. But next up, we have the Panthers heading to Arizona to take on the Cardinals. I have the Panthers in this one as my upset, and Callan has the Cardinals. Now, I'm probably just dumb at this point, but I still have faith in my boy Sam Darnold. He's seeing ghosts everywhere. He's throwing pick sixes, but he's still going to pick up some wins. I think that the Panthers come into Arizona. Arizona got upset by the Packers without either of their top two receivers a couple weeks ago, and then had to go into the bye and sit on that. I think
No, they played Arizona they played San Francisco. But
And
they played without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins and played a better game against the Niners without those two than they played against the Packers. I mean, nobody unplugged anyone's controller mid-game that I know of, so that probably made a difference. So
AJ Green, man. I forgot.
Man,
I can't
he got
believe
COVID after that and everything. Like, what? Poor AJ Green.
He probably didn't even get COVID.
No, he's probably just like,
They're probably just like,
I don't
need
even
a
care.
bye week.
Yeah.
You need a week off.
We're
We
going
don't
to
know
just
what that
inject
was.
you with COVID, give you some time off to think about it.
No, but it's probably a pipe dream. But I still think Sam Darnold has a little bit left in him. I think I'm going to give him a few more weeks, just a few more chances. And if he can't turn it around, I might have to give up on him. But I think that young defense is going to step back up a little bit. Brian Burns is going to be pissed after getting his ankle twisted by Mac Jones last week.
You got to give him the old Ken Shamrock.
And I don't know, I got a feeling about this one. I see the Panthers pulling off the upset.
And, the first 3 weeks, Darnold looked new. He looked like he was re-energized.
Oh, very much.
And then suddenly New York Sam came back. And New York Sam has stuck around in Charlotte ever since. And until I see the Darnold of the first 3 weeks, and I'm not looking at New York Sam, I mean, that was not a good quarterback. That quarterback.
No.
New York Sam is not a good quarterback. Darnold himself is talented, but I think he gets in his own head, and that's what just seems to be where he's at again, where he's seeing the ghost and getting in his own head, thinking, oh man, am I gonna F this up? Am I gonna throw a pick? And that's when you do. When you're thinking don't, that's when you do.
That's when you do it, exactly. Yep.
So until he can get back to form that he was at the beginning of the season, Carolina looked really good when he had all that confidence and was slinging it around. So if he can get back to then, if he plays like that, I see him winning. But until he plays like that again, they're going to keep losing games.
He has a strange reliance on DJ Moore.
And he has a shoulder injury and actually might not play also this week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know last week he was possibly going to miss because of a concussion. Now he hurt his shoulder in last week's game and might miss this one. This one was to the throwing shoulder, so he might actually miss this one. This one's a real injury. This is to the shoulder. No one cares if you have a concussion.
Yeah.
Look, this is the old concussion test.
CTE? What's that?
The old concussion test is how many fingers am I holding up? You can be within one.
That's sadly accurate. That's not too far off. So.
That was the old concussion test. As long as you pass that, you can get back in there.
No, but it'll be interesting to see if the Panthers can turn it back around. Next up, we have the Vikings heading to Los Angeles to take on the Chargers. I have the Vikings in this one. Callan has the Chargers. And it might just be biased Vikings fan faith, but I still have some faith because I've seen our team play so well. We have looked amazing so many times this season, and then just choked away games at the end, or had bad coaching decisions choke away games at the end, or just not showed up to play one or two games this season. I still have faith for us, especially against the Chargers, because they're one of the teams in the NFL this year that Cal and I joke about that seem to have a Pack A and a Pack B, or two different teams show up. So especially if we can get lucky and have a Chargers Pack B show up, especially after their Pack A showed up last week against the Eagles, I could easily see us pulling off a win even in Los Angeles. So I don't even know what to say anymore. Zimmer has to get something done. We have to use the pass game more. Kubiak has to... like I said last episode, Zimmer either needs to take the leash off Kubiak, or Kubiak needs to open up that playbook more. I don't know what it is exactly, but something has to change, and I'm hoping we can figure it out against the Chargers.
Well, I've picked the Vikings the last 2 weeks, and they've let me down. So I'm going to LA this time.
Tell me
I can't keep picking this team with that coaching.
They've let me down.
Yeah,
too.
so they sure have a little more than probably even me. But
yeah, we'll have to see if Herbert can return to 2020 Herbert, because he isn't exactly playing bad this year, but he's just not living up to what he was.
In that Philly game, he wanted to win
good?
that game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Not exactly a sophomore slump. It's hard to call it a sophomore slump after he started on such a high season, but definitely something like it. Next up, we have the Seahawks heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers, and Cal and I both have the Packers in this one.
Mm-hmm. However, Russell Wilson got cleared.
He did.
So
I saw that.
Russell Wilson, most likely going to start. Aaron Rodgers, most likely going to start. He's actually less likely to start compared to Wilson, just because he doesn't get cleared. The first day he can come back from his illness is Saturday, the day before the game. So that would be the first day he's eligible to come back, so he would be able to start on Sunday. Someone with that tenure and all that doesn't really need practice, I mean, he's in the meetings, he's still involved, he's Zoom, so it's not like he's away from the team. He knows what's going on, he knows the game plan, and the chemistry that he has with those guys, I mean, it really shouldn't, as long as it's not a long stretch, 10 days shouldn't affect it that much. And one thing is that, I think it's later today, Odell Beckham officially will clear waivers as long as he wasn't claimed by one of the 7 teams that are able to claim him, which is not likely because he wants to go a contender, and none of those were contenders. But one of the Packers beat writers has reported to me that they are preparing a contract to offer to Odell. So there is a slight chance, not reporting it as anything, just that a contract is being prepared. Not surprising that they will offer something. A lot of teams, I think, offer. We don't hear about the offers. We just know about the team that signed them. So I'm not surprised that we're offering a contract. I would be a little bit surprised, though, if he was in Lambeau on Sunday. For the Packers, I see him going to Seattle, so I think that Odell will be in Lambeau this Sunday. Either way, it's just, is he wearing the turquoise and green or the green and gold,
One way or another, Odell is finding his way to Lambeau Field.
Yes, I believe so.
But yeah, I got the Packers in this one just because even with Russell Wilson coming back, he came back from this injury way early.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mistaken,
they didn't think he'd play
on
this
his
game.
Throwing hand.
Yeah.
So that's those are some rough waters, a little risky.
I'm interested
right
to see
there.
if it affects him at all, if it affects his throwing, the motion, if it affects the ball at all, and could it be re-aggravated at all?
The only way I see the Seahawks winning this game is if the blind refs from like 2014 or 15 or whatever that was
the
comes
Fail
back
Mary game
and just gives the Seahawks a touchdown anytime the Packers get an interception.
Anytime.
Just every time it happens. No, but next up we got the Chiefs heading to Oakland. Oh, I did it again. Heading to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders.
They might as well go back to Oakland.
That's exactly. They should just go back to Oakland.
They were doing a little bit better off the field in Oakland than they were in Vegas.
Something about Vegas has given those players some crazy
because now
ideas.
Damon Arnett has been released and arrested.
Henry Ruggs with his stuff. They did sign Deshaun Jackson though. So they replaced a young speedy receiver with an old speedy receiver. So maybe that can kind of fill the gap that their offenses needs.
That their offense won't miss a step? Their offense won't miss a step? Because they're fast? Because they got 2 fast receivers? I tried to make a pun there. And
no, I thought you were more making a Henry Ruggs type joke.
Oh,
like
gosh,
an edgy joke. So I was like, damn, I'm missing something.
No, they used a young speedy wide receiver. Now they're using an old speedy wide receiver so that they don't have to change the offense. They don't miss a step.
No, I like
it. Okay,
I was
like, wait,
I appreciate.
Am I saying the pun wrong?
No, I appreciate the pun. My head was just going somewhere.
You were immediately like,
this
is a dark joke.
Yeah. I was going somewhere a little darker.
No, what? Maybe? It's like I'm wearing a new Raiders pullover. It says Killers on it, or what? I mean,
Maybe the Raiders would benefit a little bit from going back to Oakland because their time in Las Vegas has been rough. But Cal and I both have the Las Vegas Raiders in this one because I picked them just because they always show up against the Chiefs. Derek Carr just becomes a man possessed against the Chiefs. The defense usually steps up just enough against the usual elite Chiefs offense. So now that they're not as truly elite as they usually are, the Raiders defense should step up even more. I see the Raiders pulling out a win here.
I do too. The Chiefs are a bad team. I think I'm going to say it every episode. That's my goal.
Just to hammer it in.
Just to hammer it in. The Chiefs are a bad team. And yes, I will admit, we got beat by a bad team last week. Both teams played pretty bad. I mean, but I think that the Raiders are, through everything that's happened, have stayed together pretty good. Derek Carr has just done everything he can. I mean, jeez, he's earned a lot of respect. I mean, he was I never really disliked him, but I like him even more the way he's just handled all this crazy, crazy stuff between Gruden and then Ruggs and now Arnett. And I mean, man, as a quarterback, how do you not just want to be like, I want to leave this team?
If he loses Waller, it might send him into a mental break.
I mean, that might be the time that he loses. Like, he actually is like, okay, I'm done here because this is just getting stupid.
No, but I totally agree. Derek Carr didn't have the best week last week against a pretty stellar Giants defense, but I think he steps back up. He wants to win.
Especially against the Chiefs defense, who played their best game against Jordan Love and the Packers, and it still wasn't that good.
It still barely beat you.
Yeah.
So, finally, before we get to our quick kicks, we have the Monday night game of the Rams heading to San Francisco to take on the 49ers. And Cal and I both have the Rams in this one. Because like I mentioned last episode, the Niners just don't seem to have it down. They played really well against the Bears just randomly out of nowhere. And then totally got destroyed by Colt McCoy and that beat-up Cardinals team. And I think that the Rams are going to be pissed after coming off that Titans loss and just absolutely pick them apart, even being in San Francisco.
And that's what I think too, is that the Rams will show up, after kind of getting embarrassed a little bit on national TV there against the Derrick Henry-less Titans. And I don't know what San Francisco is. I don't know. I'm starting to question if
I've been saying it for a while. I can't tell if they're. I
think that Jimmy G doesn't have the full confidence that they want him there, so that's affecting him. Sometimes when he's not thinking about it, like against Chicago, he's able to play well. I didn't see much of the 49ers Cardinals game. I don't know if he played well or if it was the defense. I know Colt McCoy started, so I'd say that was on the defense because Arizona was able to outscore him. It just depends which Jimmy G shows up. The one that wants to play and win, or the one that's like, I don't really want to be here today. Because then the Rams really are going to run all over him. But if you get the one that played in Chicago, they got a chance at the upset just because they're still pretty talented as far as who they got for players. I mean, they're only, 2 years removed from the Super Bowl? So, I mean,
crazy to think about. Yeah, exactly. I think Deebo Samuels is probably MVP of that team. And though I really like receivers in general and I really like Deebo, it's hard to win when your only really true good elite player is a wide receiver. It's really hard to do that. Hence, the Lions. Look at what they did with Calvin Johnson.
Right.
They were never able to barely even make the playoffs. So, it's a weird situation there in San Francisco. But moving on to our quick kicks, we'll start with the Thursday night game between the Ravens heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins. Cal and I both have the Ravens in this one. Came off a big win against the Vikings, of course, because why wouldn't we choke the game away? Dolphins also coming off a win, but not as good as a win or against a good team. So both have the Ravens in this one.
Yeah, the Dolphins don't do anything good.
No.
I mean, they don't have a great quarterback, don't have a great running back, don't have a great defense.
They do some things.
Their best player, I think, is Mike Gesicki.
Oh, easily their best player is Mike Gesicki. They do some things okay, but they do nothing good, nothing great.
And because of that, Baltimore is just, way too many better players. They do things that are great. Lamar, I know we give him shit a lot for being, as a football player, maybe not as a quarterback specifically. As a football player, he's a hell of a player.
Oh, just as an athlete.
As an athlete, right. I mean, so that's a weapon no matter what. We give him shit for being a running back, playing quarterback, and his throwing. But I don't like facing him. You know?
Oh, no.
That's true.
I was fine with facing him when we kind of shut him down, but
until he learned that he could throw again.
Next up for our quick kicks, we got the Lions at the Steelers, heading to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. Callan has the Steelers in this one, but I am actually, for some reason,
to go with
sticking with the Lions. I think Dan Campbell gets a win eventually.
I mean, he's got it eventually.
I've been thinking for a while, I've been saying it for a while, that I don't think the Steelers are a good team. They should have lost to the Bears last night, or on the Monday night game. The Lions should have beat multiple teams this year and didn't. I think they pick up a win at some point. I could see it being in Pittsburgh against the Steelers. It could be.
You know, when I was making these picks, this was at halftime of the Pittsburgh game, and they looked dominant. That was seeing the conclusion of that game. I'm not as confident in that pick anymore.
Exactly. No, they definitely played rough at the end there.
I just think that, the Lions just don't quite have the team yet. They obviously don't have any of Dan Campbell's guys. He hasn't really had a chance to bring in his guys, build his scheme, whatever it is. Not sure what his coaching style is, and I think that's part of the issue of what's going on, why they're not doing so hot. They're still trying to find their identity. So while they're finding that, I still think that Pittsburgh, is obviously established in what they're doing, will get the win. If it was in Detroit, I'd think more about it.
Yeah.
But it being in Pittsburgh, they're so dominant at home.
No, I definitely agree. I guess this is a London game matchup of the week. There wasn't really one true one. We were having trouble deciding.
It wasn't like Houston, Miami, but yes.
I guess
I would say this would be our London match of the week. We'll give this one
London game of the week.
Because Pittsburgh is... look, they went from dominating that first half to should have lost that game. And Detroit...
The Lions are the Lions.
Detroit, they always will be. So
next up, we got the Browns heading to New England to take on the Pats. Cal and I both have the Browns in this one. The Pats look on and off okay, but the Browns are finally consistently getting back into a groove, even without OBJ.
They're better without him.
I think they'll keep that run game going. Or no, you said Nick Chubb is out, didn't you?
Yes, early this morning he tested positive for COVID. He is vaccinated, so he will have to have 2 negatives before Sunday. So there's still a chance he plays, but it's not likely, they say, even if he gets cleared, because he won't have practiced all week.
But even without Chubb, Dearness Johnson came in and proved that he can play well.
He can fill right in. And
I think even without that, the Pats are just, kind of like you said with the Lions, they're just not quite there yet. They're not established yet. They don't know their identity yet, and the Browns have been able to find that out these past few weeks.
The Browns know what they're doing. New England, I gotta say, I think Mac Jones will be the best rookie quarterback of this group. Not the most talented. I think he's just in the best situation, so he's going to end up looking the best coming out of it. And if he can put together a clean game, I could see New England winning this. This is a little bit of an alternate reality universe game, because somewhere in Cleveland, in an alternate universe, Belichick and Brady have like 8 Super Bowls, and they're going up against the Patriots, who just have not been able to get it right for years, have had a ton of quarterbacks, just been switching coaches every year. It's just somewhere that's the headline this week.
Good old parallel universes. And finally, we have the Eagles heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Cal and I both have the Broncos on this one. The Eagles are just so hit or miss, pack A, pack B, whichever way you want to look at it. Broncos are kind of like that at this point too, but I think they're going to be coming off of so much momentum with that huge win against the Cowboys last week, and I think they pick up a dub.
Yeah, they really surprised me with how well they played. They said, after Miller got traded, it was like a big wake-up call for everyone, and actually they said it brought everyone a little bit closer together. Like, damn, we just lost our patriarch. I mean, hell, Von Miller literally was a cornerstone in Denver, not just for the Broncos, for the city of Denver. He was an ambassador for. He has the key to the city, all that stuff. So that's crazy to just trade your franchise superstar. I've never seen it. I've seen seen him leave, not mid-season like this.
I think they just need a change is what really happened.
Yeah, and when you get offered a second and a third and a young linebacker, that's hard to turn down.
Yeah. I think it will end up working out for them. But that was our predictions for NFL Week 10. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, do not forget
to eat the W.